Everyone, welcome to the It's My Time show. I'm your host, David Andron, along with co-host James Gamble of the Global Scouting Bureau. Welcome to the It's My Time show.
Hey,
Welcome
Dave.
aboard, James.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a while, man. It's good to be back at it. We had a long summer, a lot of good baseball this summer. Kind of had a little dead period here, letting the college coaches and all get back on campus and get their fall seasons underway. But, now it's time to get back to it and, back full force in the recruiting world.
No doubt. I mean, I'm glad, on the pro side, we're getting close to the playoffs. So that's always an exciting time. And I think after about a month and a half layoff, a lot of guys that are into baseball, they're ready to strap it back on. All the colleges are playing fall baseball. Their games are starting and inter-squatting. So it's a good time of the year.
Yes, for sure. We have quite a few games we're going to see next week at the college level to see some of these players. And, there's so much going on with the college recruiting world, all the new rule changes and transfer portals and, early commits. So there's a lot of different topics we want to kind of touch on today. Um, let's talk a little bit about some of the recent changes and, how it's kind of changed the recruiting world.
Well, there's been a lot going on. We're still, even though we hate to say it, we're still dealing with the whole COVID thing where colleges, they're going back to 35, but they're really not. They have a special five where they can be at 40. If a player was on their campus during COVID, didn't transfer, then he doesn't count against it. But we're getting close to being back at the 35 players, the 11.7, kind of the normal old school. The only thing that's really changing is the recruiting I think has changed forever with the 4-to-4 transfer with no sit out and the portal being, what it is, which is unbelievable. It's very, very difficult to identify if you're a high school player where you sit on a college roster because it's going to change in May and June. So in the past, you could kind of look at a depth chart and say, okay, I'm a shortstop. They got a junior shortstop in front of me. So when I get there, I'm going to be the backup or I'm going to get some playing time. Now it's not so much that way. Even the colleges don't know. Like right now, today, they have no idea who's going in the portal. And every college is going to try to better themselves. So that high school kid that commits, he may think he has an opportunity only to find out they signed two guys out of the portal and now he's sitting in the 3 spot. So the early commit value of doing it has went down, for the player. Uh, I know that's
Sure.
not pushed out there a whole lot. A lot of the coaches are on the phone with the players trying to put timelines and say you got to commit to me, but really it's insurance policies. Uh, there's no way they know. And I'm not trying to knock the college, but there's no way they know. There's too much. They don't know who's going to have a great year and want to improve the college that they're at. I mean, let's just take like at UNO last year, Amani Larry goes and hits like 360, and now he's at Mississippi State. I mean, he
Right.
moved up. You look at other guys that might have been Blake McGee. He was at Ole Miss. Now he's at UL. There's no way last year at this time UL thought they were going to have Blake McGee. So, and that's not counting, 4 or 5 other guys that they got through the portal that's going to benefit their team this year. But last year at the same time, they had no idea. This all happened at the end of May and June. So it's really tough for the high school market.
Yeah. And the percentages of student athletes that are staying at their university they start at are very minimal. I mean, because you perform and outperform where you are, you're moving on. If you underperform and don't get the opportunity, you're moving somewhere else. So there's so much movement. Unless you're just an everyday starter, you don't see very many students starting at one school and graduating from that same school, which ultimately affects the university.
No doubt about it. In fact, now a lot of the recruiting, you want to be the second commit. You want to get them on their second one uh, because then they're going to be there a little bit. So a lot of times, whenever a player, he's coming out of high school and he might commit to a mid-major, maybe a little bit higher. Now all the colleges are paying attention. They're writing him down because they're going to re-recruit him when he goes in the portal because it is so hard to identify. And again, it's not just guys like myself, and there's other people in the industry that do this, but even the college coaches, it's very tough to know uh, who's going to underperform, who's going to overperform and leave your program, who's going to fail out, who's going to get hurt, who's going to get drafted and actually sign. There's too many things they do not know to really guarantee the future. So it's a little bit tougher for the high school players, especially. So my advice, I meet with a lot of families and kids, is find a place where you can go and, if you're a baseball guy, if you're going to get your engineering degree and baseball is a second thing to you, I totally understand. Even though you could go and get your core classes and still transfer, Uh, but find a place where you can go and play because it's fun, right? Uh, there's still too much of this D1 or bust, or I want to have this great layout on a table to commit. It makes me look like I've made it. Anybody, regardless of where you commit, that's really the starting line, not the finish line. You have to get there and earn a spot. And when you have 35, 40 players, I mean, a lot of them in the fall, they have 45 and above. So you got to think come Christmas time, there's a lot of guys that are still going to be looking for other places to go, even though last year, the year before, they were doing that table, putting down they're going somewhere, and everybody was excited about wearing those team colors. And, they bought the polo shirts and the hats. They're going to be getting some new attire come December.
Yeah, for sure. And really got to feel bad for some of the junior college coaches because right now, every mid major, every NEI, every Division two is just like a junior college. I mean, because the players can transfer if they perform and they just bounce from one to another. Junior college coaches really have a hard time recruiting because now a kid can go to a 4 year university and bounce after a year, if they're not happy or if they outperform it. So it really makes it more difficult for the junior college coaches as well.
I agree. I know without hurting all the coaches' feelings, I believe the entire, unless you're a Power Five or a Group of Five team, uh, you're probably a junior college. You may be able to go to school and get a 4 year degree, but I'm including the Nichols, the McNeese, the Southeastern, UNOs, your mid-major schools, your Southlands. If a kid goes there and does really well, I mean, the evidence is showing that he's going to leave and move up,
Right.
right? Uh, so those coaches, instead of restricting it, I think they're starting to adopt it and understand that, hey, come play here. If you outperform it, by all means, do what's in your best interest. It still stings, there's no doubt, because we wish that loyalty existed. But I'm not sure you're going to have any of those career players that go to a program and break records for most doubles, most hits over 4 years. I think those days are kind of gone because if you do perform well, you're going to have the options to continue advancing at the college level. I think I had shown you uh, kind of a diagram that we have internally. We were showing in the state of Louisiana how this pyramid of colleges, I don't know if you recall it, it kind of showed you that we're a unique state in Louisiana because, LSU sits at the top. There's really no denying it. And then underneath it, you've got another tier and then another tier. And there's about 6 different tiers of colleges. So a lot of times when I'm talking to players, yes, everybody wants to be at the top level, right? They all want to be able to compete in the SEC. But the reality is you need to go somewhere and be able to play. And you can climb tiers if you go and outperform where it's at. That's why I always talk about Todd Self. He's now the athletic director at JMU, and he's a guy that walked on to Louisiana College.
Right.
And now that's Louisiana Christian University, and he did not start when he got there, right? So he had to sit the bench as a walk-on at Louisiana College, only to then get an opportunity, do well enough to outperform it, to then go to UL Monroe to outperform that, to get drafted by the Astros, go A-ball, AA, AAA, 5-time minor league all-star, and then play Major League Baseball. But it's still the same player. What he did is he learned how to work and outperform where he was at. Those are the skills that everybody should be looking at. I still find that a lot of people are using social media. They look and they'll call and say, little Johnny signed somewhere, I'm better than him. They're focused on little Johnny. My goal, and I know yours as well, is to say, let's look in the mirror and work on what we can improve on each and every day, right? Let's focus on that rather than the outside of what other people are doing, because there's still so much misinformation going out there with, this guy got a full ride to, ABC University that cost $70,000, only to find out the majority of it was merit based. It wasn't. The stories aren't always told the right way by the kids or the parents because too much pride is involved.
Yeah, no doubt. Now we talk about, the recruiting side of it from the summer league part. I talk to a lot of players. I try to follow them, to help them move on to the next level. We talk about the COVID situation, and everybody was frustrated with the mandates and different things like that. But we have these high school coaches that are coaching summer ball that are mandating their kids to play for their summer team, and it's really unfair to the player, and I think it's a disservice to all of recruiting. When you force a kid to, make a choice in the summer, when they could go and better themselves somewhere else and still help your program, I think that's an issue that, needs to be resolved. I don't know how, some of these coaches get away with it, but, I had a player the other day that was playing for one summer team and I was supposed to go watch him play. And then he texted me, said, my coach said I couldn't play for that summer team anymore. I got to go play for, his team this summer. And, it's really sad that they put those kids in that situation.
Yeah, it's disappointing. A lot of that is just the insecurities and pride again of the people that run them. Our company owns an amateur side of United Baseball, and for me, I think it's a choice. People can choose if they want to go play for one organization or another, and it should be. We've never asked a coach to mandate that his players, nor will we ever do that. Just like I don't believe that LSU's ever mandated that every single one of their players during the summer stay together and play for the LSU travel baseball team. They go to different collegiate summer leagues. And I think that's just a sign of maturity in the organizations and people that are really looking out for the kid rather than their own personal reputation. I don't know what you really want to call that. Hopefully that'll get broken up. I mean, mandates are just not a good thing. When you force it and look, the reality is that people don't want to use it. It's a fear tactic towards their parents because there's nothing stopping a kid from making a choice, going where he wants to play. It's not during school. The coach threatens that he's not going to play him. Well, I've seen that happen, and I've seen the coaches replaced, right? Their job is to win at the high school level. They go to high school. I've never seen an English teacher tell a kid over the summer that he can't go to an English tutor or go read other books. I've never seen that happen. But it's one of those fear tactics, and really it's an insecurity in the individual running the organization.
Yeah, it's definitely, a pride issue, but it's also a monetary issue. I mean, they force these kids to spend thousands of dollars, that they put in their pocket, and it should be a choice.
Totally agree.
I totally disagree with that approach. I've been a high school coach. I've been, been a college coach. I've been a professional coach, professional scout, and I always, don't get me wrong, I do refer players to certain organizations. I refer a lot to your organizations, but I also, leave it open to them to go to where it's a best fit for them, to get better and improve what's good for their family. I mean, like I said, there's so many different organizations. Some of them are a lot more expensive. Some of them are more affordable. It might be an issue where the kid can afford to play somewhere else and not necessarily for his high school coach's team. So, I wish they would put a stop to that. I think some of the high school administrators need to really step up and, maybe talk to these coaches or, lay down some ground rules or some bylaws or something to minimize it because it's really detrimental to recruiting and to these kids and families.
Well, and that's a lot of the stuff that, I hope information gets out the right way. I've sat with some of the coaches that have said for X amount of dollars, all of their players. And, I'm not interested in doing that. And I don't think that should be the way of it. I think every family should have a choice to look into the individuals that run the organization, the coaches of the organization. I mean, there's a lot of good ones. It's not just ours. There's a lot of good organizations out there, that are really focused on helping to develop and advance the kid. And when you mandate it, you take away that opportunity. And again, that's why I said always look up. Do you see any colleges mandating that their kid has to go to one? It's just simply not there. That's probably why I'm against it. I mean, I won't go into all of it because those individuals know it. Even if they watch this, they know who we're talking about. I wish they would just compete. I'm thrilled when the players sign. It doesn't matter if they played in our organization, somebody else, because you have one chance as an athlete to go through college, one chance as a high school athlete. So all of these outside things trying to influence it, it's really tough. I feel for the parents.
Yeah. I mean, my philosophy has always been, make your own program so exciting that everybody wants to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
You don't have to force anybody. If they don't want to be a part of it, it's not a good fit for them, so be it. But if you do the right things in your program, your players should want to play for you in the summertime. And, but again, it should be a choice. It should be the freedom to make their own decisions. And you should not, use it as a threat or a weapon to, destroy the kid's high school career just because he doesn't want to play for you in the summer. So definitely some things need to change.
Absolutely. The last thing I'll say on that is what I find in meeting with a lot of the different travel coaches or showcase coaches and things like that, the biggest challenge is that at times everybody wants to have world dominance, to have the best team. And I get it. Uh, but I think the focus should be on developing the kids and advancing the kids.
Right.
Because right now in Major League Baseball, you have your winners and your losers. Everybody's so afraid to lose. In the summer, it should be about developing the kid, advancing the kid. You know, we hear the word exposure over and over, and the truth is it's misused. Okay. I mean, yes, if you're the outlier, you're the 6'4" lefty that throws 95. I'll even say you remember Craig Taxi. If Craig watches this, we love you, but man, he'll get somebody fired. You know, he can go to a showcase and in one day everybody's going to love him, right? Because those guys are going to stand out. But the majority of players, they need to be seen multiple times. That's an exposure rate. But I hear people, I have to go to this tournament or I have to be on this team. Hey, this shirt is not going to define who I am, right? I can take it off and put another one. It's not going to change my intellect, my physical abilities, anything like that. Uh, if you have the tools, you're going to be okay. Everybody should be focused on identifying the tools. I know you and I have collaborated on a book that's coming out on the SWOT analysis. And really, that's what it is. It's trying to tell the families and the kids how to look in the mirror, how to identify who am I as an athlete, as a student, as a person. You know, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What opportunities do I have? And what threats do I have? And then go through them so the athletes can learn. You know, I spoke to a family last night, and one of the questions I just asked about a tool. He was considering going to different showcases, and I asked how he ran, and he was open and honest and said he ran a 7.8. And I said, I don't think it'd be a great idea because I don't know a lot of coaches that are recruiting a 7.8 runner. That's not a tool. Now, I think that you can work on it. I think that he can identify it, and he was very honest. He's going to continue to work on that foot speed. And mom and dad can get a $5 stopwatch, or they can use their iPhone, Android, and start timing him, and you can start measuring and tracking. So the athletes should focus on being the best athletes that they can become, rather than there's so many money grabs that are out there.
Right.
And I work in this industry, so I mean, we get labeled that a lot, and we have to sit there and defend who we are, what our program is, what our ideology is, how our goal is to help players advance. Okay, I can't get you to UL. Your tools get you to UL, right? There's this myth if I play for a certain program or a certain team that they're gonna. No, they're not going to. You're going to possess the skill set that is needed, and they have to have a need for you, right? And again, it bounces back to the recruiting. You really want to look at their depth chart of their 35 and see where you fit, and that's what's making it so complex today. Is that we know right now that come June it's going to change. So all the high school kids that have committed that are going to do their LOIs this November, come June, all the data is going to change. The environment's going to change. And I think that's what's starting to have so many players going into the portals and decommitting. I'm not going to say I'm a fan of it, but I understand it because that's what the NCAA has basically created, is a free agency model.
Right. It's definitely going to the professional athlete now. You know, they're getting paid for their name and likeness and different things like that. So amateur baseball is thrown out the window at the college level.
Sure.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about, My Time Sports, our recruiting service. We're doing some changes. We, hired Malcolm Ogeron, which will be heading up a lot of the area events for us, and have some events coming up. So make sure you check out the website, mytimesports.com. Follow up with some of our upcoming events. We'll have a free month trial for our new members, $49 a month, plus a 3-month trial. Get them recruiting service as well as mental training. We do certified sports psychology coaching, at the college and the professional level, so we can help with the mental and the stress management part of the game as well. So, really want to get everybody involved and check out the website. We have some new things coming out on the app and things like that. So I'm looking forward to working with Malcolm and getting things started on this fall for the recruiting side of My Time Sports.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that you're mentioning, and that's why I'm involved as well, and that I push a lot, is rather than just trying to take all this, I want people to get their tools assessed to see where they're at, so that they can go back to work. And you want to keep things affordable. I see a lot out there that's so expensive, and they're promising all these coaches are going to be there, and then all the families get super excited. I actually think the problem lies a lot with the parents, because we need to be very truthful. Again, when you go to these showcases, everybody really is looking for who runs the fastest, throws the hardest, and hits the farthest, right? And the measurables. But if you don't have those, you really need to be focused on the training and development side. rather than spending all this money to go to this one-day event. I mean, what would have happened if Pete Rose was judged on one day? What would have happened if Kirby Puckett was judged on one day? I actually talked to a coach that told me a story when he was at Nichols. He drove to go recruit, and he was at Nichols State, a Division I, and he went and saw this right-handed pitcher that was probably 5'8", 5'9". He threw 90, had good life on his fastball, but when he went back, he told the head coach he's not a Nichols guy. He's undersized, what have you. It ends up being Roy Oswald, okay? Now, the coach said he missed, and for me, I talked to him, and I asked, how many times did you watch him? He said, once. So that's kind of the problem with recruiting. What really needs to happen right there is when you watch this guy over time, baseball's a game of consistency. When you see him over time, you learn to love him, you appreciate him. Good scouting and good recruiting doesn't look one time at a player and make a decision. They follow him. It could have been his best outing, his worst outing. I think college coaches want those grinders and those dirt bags. They all do. But the anxiety of let me see something and sign it. And pure affirmation. You and I have put that in the book that we went out there. It still drives the market. I literally do that on the phone with coaches all the time. They're not interested, right? They'll tell you they're not interested in a player. And you name 2 other schools that are interested, and now they have interest. Well, learn who you are. As a college, go get the players that you need for your roster, your team. Stop treating these kids as insurance policies. Hey, he's ranked number 2 on ABC recruiting service, so they try to get him in and recruit him. And they put a little check on it, but he may not even fit what you're looking for. So the game is really turned into a business. So we're going to do more and more advising from the GSB standpoint, more and more advising to student athletes, not like representation, but advising them, because you have grown men that are college coaches, and you've got parents that work outside of the sports field, and you've got kids that are young, and a lot of times they're getting bad information. That's the reality. And after 25 years of doing it and over 6,000 professional athletes, we're equipped to be able to hold people accountable. It doesn't mean they're going to like us, and explain where they really fit on that roster, or do they really fit on that roster? Or when a coach says that you have to make a decision by next Friday, well, okay. Well, he can go find somebody else that's better than you if he thinks he can. So you have to really be able to look in that mirror and know who you are and where you're at. If you're a talented athlete, you won't be denied, period. Period. We had an instant 1 week before school started, you know it because I called you, that a kid had signed his LOI last November out of a junior college. He was committed to a major Division I in Louisiana. A week before, they found out he was ineligible. I called Jerry, a guy that works for me. He's been a college coach for 20 years, and I told him I wanted to call an NAIA school. It's a week before. And I said, now I just want you to ask if they have any spots for, this left-handed pitcher. He's going to tell you no. And then you're going to tell him his name. You're going to say that he was 6'3", been up to 94, and where he was committed to, and watch what happens. They called the following day and offered him a week before school started. Okay. So a lot of what people are hearing is not accurate. If you have the right tools, they will move mountains to get you in, period. It's up to the kids and their families to understand what tools are needed and go obtain them.
And that's what we focus on at My Time Sports too, is just giving the fact. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. Again, yes, you have tremendous tools. There's going to be tons of opportunities for you. If you're an average high school player, a little above average, there's opportunities for you. You just got to know the right places to go and not let your ego get in the way or your parents' ego get in the way, thinking that, okay, I got to have a Division I. I got to be, 5 miles from my house. There's opportunities, and a lot of these kids that do take the opportunities out of state and go play for the Division IIs and NAIAs, they succeed. They outperform where they are, and they end up getting a chance to play at the high Division I where they dream to go and play. But in order to do that, they have to take a more difficult path and work their tails off and do the right thing. So, like you said, on the advising side, that's one thing we do a lot of at My Time Sports as well, is just try to give everybody the facts and open up the doors to give kids opportunities.
Well, even look at some of the players like Hayden Erb, okay, originally out of high school, commits to UL, had some injuries, things. They wanted to reduce scholarship. He needed to change his scenery. He leaves. He goes to Seminole, where then he gets legitimately a full ride to go to West Virginia, a Power 5, has more injuries. This guy went up and down. He signs out of a Division II school, University of Tampa. He signs with the Tampa Rays. He's the first player, again, he signed as a free agent. He's the first player in Tampa's system in the draft this year that advances to high A. They just won another championship, okay? He put up a big fat goose egg as an ERA this year in pro ball. This guy, he continues to get better. He's 24. Okay. This is not like a 19-year-old getting drafted, but he continues to work hard. He's going to overcome obstacles. He always has. He controls his future. So every player out there, you're the CEO of your future. Parents, you're the CFOs, right? Make good choices, but we know that the player's the CEO. I'm not telling you to hand him the checkbook and let him make all the decisions. He's still 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. But his work ethic, the time that he puts in, his academics, his athleticism, all of this is up to him. Uh, that's my biggest advice is really, focus on you. Look in the mirror. The kids know who they are. We just don't start, nobody wants to be honest with them. It's okay. I was a below average runner and I had to continue to work at it. Okay. I didn't have an extremely good fastball. I had to continue to work at it and I improved it over time. So every player has the opportunity to work hard, okay, be the best that they can be. And I think that should be the focus, even at a young age. We're so caught up in winning that we're not looking at players doing their personal best. If you were in track and field, that's what they chase, their personal best, right? If you've run in marathons before, 5Ks, 10Ks, you're trying to reach your personal best. It's not always looking at someone else. That guy runs 4-minute miles. David, you ain't running a 4-minute mile, okay? And you ain't doing it for 26 miles either. So when you go out to run, you're running to beat your personal best time, right? I mean, and I think that's the same thing in the weight room with guys. Be your personal best, right? Not everybody is. I know it's that everybody's created equal. They are, but we all come from different parents. If you wanted to run like Deion Sanders, well, Deion Sanders might need to be your papa to be able to get some of those genes to do it. And that's just not what we're built with. I'm poor to my mom and poor to my dad, and then I'm going to be the best that I can be. That's for every single athlete that's out there.
For sure. But James, I appreciate your time, man. We're gonna, get going on back to our regular every 2 week schedule and, move forward from there. But again, if you're interested in getting some opportunities, we're looking for athletes in the 2023, 24, and 25 class. I mean, there's lots of opportunities out there for you. My Time Sports can help you. So, check out the website. Also, our It's My Time book is still available. And we're going to be working on a second edition, with some of the rule changes and stuff that'll be coming out soon as well.
I wanted to add that I know this sounds unrealistic, but there are colleges right now still looking for 22s. And I know that sounds crazy, but they're looking for guys at midterm. There's still players in the portal. It's such a new thing that I want players to know. Sometimes they might have made a decision out of high school, but they still love the game and they want to play. There are opportunities. I've had numerous junior colleges already reaching out and other schools that are looking to add to their roster, right? So players that are out there, you can network with friends, get in touch with us, get in touch with My Time Sports because there are opportunities right now for athletes.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Let us know anything we can do to help. Get out and watch some of these colleges this fall, and we're going to be out in the stands watching the showcase teams as well as some of the colleges this fall as well. So, thanks again for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
Sounds good. Take care.